What if I told you that one of Clint Eastwood's most talked about westerns, praised for its sharp writing, clever twist, and memorable music, was For the Man Himself, a film he'd prefer to erase from memory, not because of the story, not because of the grueling shoot in the blistering Mexican desert, and not even because of the rattlesnake he had to kill on camera. No, the real reason is much more personal. It came down to one person, a co-star who turned what should have been a rewarding collaboration into a slow-burn tension that never went away. And to this day, Eastwood rarely talks about it. By 1970, Clint Eastwood was riding the momentum of his spaghetti western fame. The good, the bad, and the ugly had cemented him as the face of the laconic anti-hero, and Hollywood was hungry for more. Directors saw him as bankable. Studios knew audiences would pay to watch him scowl under a wide-brimmed hat for 2 hours. So when Universal Pictures paired him with Don Siegel again, fresh off their work on Coogan's Bluff, it felt like a safe bet. Siegel had a knack for getting lean, tightly paced performances out of Eastwood. Add a sweeping Ennio Morricone score, a storyline set in the dusty heart of 19th century Mexico, and you had the recipe for a western with teeth. The plot had just enough novelty to stand out. Eastwood's character, Hogan, is a rough-edged mercenary who stumbles across a nun on the run from French soldiers. They form an uneasy alliance, trading barbs and secrets as they navigate the desert. But there's a twist, one the film's marketing danced around, waiting to upend everything. On paper, it was perfect. On screen, it looked solid. But behind the camera, the cracks formed fast. The role of Sister Sarah was, at first, a prize meant for Elizabeth Taylor. She was a Hollywood powerhouse with global appeal, and her involvement would have brought serious star wattage. She even personally pitched the project to Eastwood while they worked together on Where Eagles Dare. But Taylor had one condition: the shoot had to be in Spain, close to her husband Richard Burton's location. Universal wasn't interested. Mexico was cheaper, more authentic to the story, and already baked into Siegel's production plan. The negotiation broke down, and Taylor walked. Enter Shirley MacLaine. Fresh off the musical Sweet Charity, she was a bankable name with a reputation for playing sharp, independent women. The only hitch? The Sister Sarah character was written as Mexican. MacLaine, with her pale skin, auburn hair, and no attempt at an accent, was an obvious mismatch. Siegel and Eastwood were privately concerned, but the studio was betting on her name to draw in audiences, and once the casting was done, the clock started ticking toward a very different kind of on-set chemistry. From the first days of shooting, it was clear Eastwood and MacLaine weren't finding much rhythm together. Siegel didn't mince words. It's hard to feel any great warmth toward her. She's too unfeminine and has too much balls. She's very, very hard. It wasn't about talent. MacLaine could hold her own in a scene. It was about energy. Hogan and Sarah's dynamic relied on slow burn tension, the kind of playful push and pull that makes audiences lean forward. But off camera, their exchanges were short, strictly professional, and chilly. Eastwood, famously understated, didn't expect his co-stars to be chatty. But here, even the minimal rapport he preferred was missing. As one crew member later put it, they weren't fighting, they just didn't connect. It was like two radio stations broadcasting on different frequencies. The shoot location was as punishing as the dynamic between the leads. They were filming in the Mexican countryside, far from major cities or Hollywood luxuries. Temperatures soared past 100 degrees. The air shimmered with heat waves by noon, and the dust clung to skin and clothes like it had been sprayed on. Food and water became a gamble. Many on the crew, MacLaine included, fell sick from local sources. Shooting days stretched long into the evening, with no guarantee of relief from the heat. At night, the temperature dropped sharply, and the cold bit into exhausted bodies. One infamous incident came during a rattlesnake scene. The snake was meant to be relocated after the take, but local authorities refused. Eastwood was told the only option was to kill it. He later admitted it made him uneasy. He respected animals too much to take its life lightly. But there, under the relentless sun, with a film schedule breathing down their necks, he did it. By week 5, the crew was worn thin. Conversations turned curt. Even minor disagreements about lighting, about blocking, landed harder than they would have in an air-conditioned studio. And when the lead actors don't click, the discomfort seeps into the whole set. Here's the irony. To an audience in a darkened theater, none of this was visible. On screen, Eastwood's steady glare and MacLaine's quick wit created the illusion of friction that could turn into fire at any moment. The plot's big reveal, that Sarah was no nun at all, but a gun-carrying prostitute, played well with audiences. Critics noted the banter between the two leads as a highlight. Roger Greenspun, of the New York Times, even called the film intelligent and visually striking. Fans to this day debate its place in Eastwood's Western canon, with some calling it underrated. But those viewers didn't see the weariness in Eastwood's eyes between takes, or the quiet way he'd step off set when a scene wrapped, heading to his trailer with barely a word. Bud Bedecker, the man behind the original screenplay, wasn't pleased either. His vision of Sarah was refined and ladylike, a character whose eventual reveal would shock both the hero and the audience. With MacLane's brash, earthy interpretation, that surprise was blunted. Bedecker was outspoken about his dislike for the final product. To him, it wasn't just a casting issue, it was a tonal one. The entire arc of the story had shifted, and the emotional payoff he'd built into the script was, in his eyes, gone. By the end of production, Eastwood had made a private decision: never again would he take second billing. On the poster, MacLane's name came first. For Eastwood, this wasn't just marketing, it was symbolic of a lack of control he no longer intended to tolerate. From this point on, his career took a new shape. He became not just a leading man, but a creative force, choosing projects, controlling scripts, and shaping the environment on set to avoid the kind of experience he'd just endured. Financially, Two Mules for Sister Sarah did fine. Critics were mostly favorable. Morricone's score was praised, and Siegel's direction was tight. But to Eastwood, none of it mattered. The memories of the shoot, the illness, the rattlesnake, the heat, and above all, the lack of connection with his co-star overshadowed the praise. When asked about the film in later years, he didn't trash it. He didn't need to. His brevity spoke volumes. To him, it was a professional obligation completed and then filed away. Today, Two Mules for Sister Sarah holds a curious spot in Clint Eastwood's career. It's not forgotten, not hated, not even widely criticized, but it is absent from the list of films he loves to reminisce about. Because sometimes, the real battle in making a movie isn't fought in front of the camera, it's waged in the quiet spaces between takes. And for Eastwood, the war on that set was one of endurance. Shirley MacLaine may have played Sister Sarah, but for Clint Eastwood, she was the reason a promising film became a memory worth leaving in the dust.